How's it going, YouTube? Found a better phone for recording. Not too long ago, one of my old iPhones. Honestly, there's a long story about that, but another time. Anyway, one thing that I kind of thought about earlier today was that, some people might say, some people might respond, to the whole following Torah and the commandments and all that and the other. Some people might bring up scripture. For example, the one that popped into my head earlier today was Galatians 4, I believe it's chapter 9, where Paul speaks to the Galatians. He went initially over there and taught them the way, the same thing that he does, and according to his own testimony in scripture is that he believes in the law, the prophets, and the resurrection, the life of Yeshua. Well, he wrote this letter, and in Galatians chapter 4, he's like, why are you going back to, elementary matters that you were doing before I knew you, before I met you or whatever. I think it's Galatians chapter 4, verse 7, somewhere in that area, maybe verse 6 or something like that, I don't know. But chapter 4, I know that for sure. And, people are like, well, see, Paul was telling them, why are you going back to the law? And, okay, from that mindset, I can understand that. But, and correct me if I'm wrong, I've only heard this through other teachings, and to be honest with you, I should probably look it up myself, but it's just, more or less a discussion topic. The Galatians were Gentiles before Paul met them. So they never had the law before Paul met them. So the elementary matters, at least, putting two and two together in that sense, the elementary matters were their pagan practices that they were doing before Paul met them. And before Paul gave them all three, the law, the prophets, and the story of Yeshua, and how he leads to salvation. Salvation is always the first step. Then, after you do that, after you come to realize that, Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 6, Hear, O Israel, Yahweh is our God, Yahweh is one. And following up with that, understanding that you're supposed to live your life and walk it out the way Yeshua walked. That's what we're called to do what the Father commands. Now, is that easy? No. Is it simple? Yeah. And I honestly believe that, at least since I've done it, in the last 8 months or 9 months, almost a year, since I dove off the deep end, I've probably grown spiritually, mentally, a little bit physically, thanks to the holidays, But I've probably grown the most in the last year than I have, and quite honestly, all the years that I've been on this earth. So, stands to reason. I mean, look at Proverbs. I bet you can pick any chapter in Proverbs almost and see that Solomon, the wisest man in the world, was saying, hey, you guys, listen to these commands. Do them. Seek out wisdom. Seek out knowledge. Seek out understanding. Seek out the truth. And do it. Wisest man in the world ought to have some pretty good pretty good credibility. You know, I certainly don't have that. Hardly any of us do. You know, Scripture says, let not many of you be teachers. I'm not here as a teacher. I'm just here as, you know, some people might be in the situation where, you know, they go to church and they ask questions, and those questions might get shut down, or they might get shunned and kicked out entirely. I've seen it happen. Or, you know, instead of church, you know, their family might, you know, they might be the first person in their family to come to God. And they might have questions and no one to bounce it off of. Same with their friends, you know, they might not have anyone to bounce it off of. And so that's kind of what I see, you know, it's kind of where I see where I'm at. You know, I'm okay to be that person for anybody. For anyone. I mean, I'm always down for discussion. Always down to talk Scripture. I'm not really down to debate, you know, as far as trolling and all that. No, that ain't why I'm here. But anyway, I just wanted to open that up, you know, Galatians chapter 4. The Galatians, they never kept the law before Paul came along, because before Paul came along, they didn't know what the law was. Paul taught them the law. So that wasn't the elementary matters that Paul was telling them, was accusing them of doing. I think that it was more or less the idolatry, temple prostitution. They might have even been drinking blood and eating meat that had been strangled. And they forgot Torah. You know, the fifth part of those 5 commandments, 5, that Peter gave the Gentiles when they were all discussing what they were doing. I think that was the book of Acts. But anyway, yeah, I think I'm gonna keep going. You know, if any one of you want to comment down below or like, I'm not into getting popular. That's not why I'm here. I'm here to help spread the message. I'm here to help spread, hopefully, in the end, when it all gets down to brass tacks, hopefully we all find out this is the truth. You know, in 2 Peter, this is a scripture I kind of know a little bit more about, but I think it's 2 Peter chapter 3. Peter actually gives us a warning about Paul. And Paul has kind of been you know, in the book of Acts, I was talking earlier in one of my previous videos that Paul was falsely accused of not keeping Torah and teaching others to do so, and he had to, you know, pretty much do a Nazirite vow and pay for 4 other people to do that, which, if you actually kind of do the math, that's pretty expensive. I mean, money itself, the food and everything like that, lodging, you had to do the whole 9 yards for 4 guys and him. So 5 Nazirite vows total. As far as the ceremonies and stuff like that, in order to do it publicly, you know, similar to how you would go get a piece of paperwork notarized by somebody, so, you know, there's witnesses and whatnot, you know, it's a legal agreement, so to speak. But anyway, 2 Peter chapter 3, Peter actually gives us a warning about Paul, not to do anything bad with him, but just his style, you know. Peter said, you know, as with Paul's writings, paraphrasing, I do know the scripture, but I'm trying to remember the exact words. But in any case, he said, you know, that some people might twist Paul's words, as they do all the scriptures, to their own destruction. And he warns us not to do that. So, if Peter's giving us a warning about Paul like that, and Paul is often misinterpreted, or misrepresented rather, you know, still, all these years later, Paul is still being falsely accused of not obeying the Torah and teaching others to not obey the Torah. All these years later, he's still being misrepresented. So what does Peter's warning mean? It means he's being misrepresented. people are taking those words out of context, picking and choosing their own words. And I mean, nowadays it could be out of, I'm not going to put anything past anybody, but I'm always one to look on the positive things. I'm not going to say that every church in America or every church in the world or a certain sect of Christianity is, out to get people's money. Yeah, there's bad people everywhere, but for the most part, I believe that most people just are ignorant only because, and I don't mean that in a bad term or in a bad turn of phrase, but most people are ignorant because they were brought up in a certain denomination, or they always read something in the mindset of, everyone knows that Christ abolished the law and on the cross, blah, blah, blah. Everyone always has that mindset, and so it kind of, can't teach old dogs new tricks, but anyway, I'm kind of rambling on it again, but that's what I'm good at, I guess. Anyway, just a quick question. Do you guys have any scriptures, or is there any scripture that pops into your head similar to Galatians chapter 4 that, you've heard talked about, you've heard it said that this scripture here means that we don't have to follow the law? Because if we don't have to follow the law, then we can go after other gods. We can make images that are in heaven and in earth. We don't have to honor our father and mother. We can murder as much as we want. We can steal. Oh, well, Christ abolished this much of the law. He either did or he didn't. And if he did, he's a liar. Matthew chapter 5. Until heaven and earth pass away, there's heaven, here's earth. Not one jot nor tittle of the law shall pass away, until all is accomplished. And again, the cross isn't the end of it, it's the beginning. Revelation is the end. Anyway, putting two and two together, it kind of makes sense to me. And that's, like I said in the first video, that's kind of why I don't really go to church anymore. For me personally, I've heard it all before, I've tried going to several different churches, but it's all the same message that I keep hearing. So, I'm not saying that I won't ever go to church. I'm open to it. Matter of fact, I went a couple weeks ago. I got invited. But for me, Saturday is Sabbath, not Sunday. The Bible has always said the seventh day. Lunar, solar calendar, yeah, this, that, and the other. But for me, Saturday is the seventh day of the week. That's as close as I'm going to be able to get. Because God's law is simple. It's black and white. It's not this whole complex, rudimentary thing where you have to do all these calculations and this, that, and the other. No. It's for everyone. To where even a child can look at it and go, okay, yeah, makes sense. I mean, if the second half of the 10 commandments were simple commandments like don't steal, don't murder, honor your father and mother, do you really think the first half of the commands, first, second, third, and fourth, are going to be any more complicated than that? No. It's easy. It's very easy. But anyway, I'm done rambling. I'm about to get to where I'm going. Hopefully, you guys are on the right path as well. Thank you for stopping by. Like I said, if you want to like, comment, subscribe, or any of that crap, go ahead. It's all for the benefit that the message gets spread. That's why I feel I'm here. Anyway, shalom, everyone.